Yeah.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. As we are aware of the mounting tension on the borders of Delhi and various parts of the nation over the three farm ordinances that were assented to by the Honorable President on September 27th, namely Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Ordinance 2020, the Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement on the Price Assurance and Farm Services Ordinance 2020. We realize that there is much that is put under the question, the paramount being the concern over devastating of MSP or minimum selling price system. Thus, we at Miranda House believe it is pertinent for us to discuss these ordinances and the impact they will have on the farmers and the agricultural sector to assess its prospectus or shortcomings. To impart their expertise in this domain, we have with us Colonel Rupinder Hire and Mr. Arman Bali. Moderator of today's session is Dr. Sonali Chatalkar ma'am, our mentor for this webinar to take place. Now, I would request Dr. Jayashree Pillai ma'am address the gathering. Ma'am, over to you.
I thought Sonali was to begin. Sonali, would you want to say a few words before I start? Sandeep, can you unmute Sonali ma'am? संदीप जी सोनाली को अनम्यूट करिए प्लीज
मैडम करा है
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to put in a word here that our principal, ma'am, Dr. Vijay Lakshmi Nanda, is sending her best wishes. She was not able to join here because she is involved with another meeting. And Dr. Jayashree Pillai is the senior most teacher in college, and she is also the senior most teacher in our department. I would request her to say a few words of blessing. And then she would have to leave because she is also engaged in a meeting. But however, ma'am, over to you. Please give us your blessings so we can start.
Okay. A very good evening to all of you. I am not the senior most teacher in the college, but yes, I am the senior most teacher in the department. Okay. So, very also from Miranda House. And let me also welcome Colonel Rupinder Hire from Canada and Dr. Aman Bali, both the speakers who are going to participate. And I also believe that our students have finished their exams today. If I'm wrong, please correct me. And I think this is a wonderful way of unwinding yourself with engaging on such an important issue. Farm Ordinances 2020 is something I think we all need to know, right? And many of us are also from farmers' families, including myself. My parents and my in-laws and everyone is a farmer in our own state in Kerala. So this is something which is very, very important for all of us to understand. Now, when we are talking about farm ordinances, I think already it has taken form of the law duly passed by the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha and assented by the President. It has now taken form of the laws. And when we are mentioning about these, I think these are the three major laws which we are talking about. One is the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Production and Facilitation Act 2020. Then Farmers Empowerment and Protection 2020 and Essential Commodities Amendment Act 2020. I think we are going to discuss on these three acts. And we also know that from September onwards, the protesters have, there are a lot of protests happening in Delhi, outskirts of Delhi. And we find that the protesters are calling it corporate friendly and not and is anti-farmer. So it is corporate friendly and it is anti-farmer. That is what is being asserted by the protesters. Now, yes, we all know that the bill have faced major protest. Now, what is the reason for protest? Generic. I'm talking about a generic statement, and that is Dissent and protests are our rights, no doubt about it. If we are not happy with something, if we have our grievances for a particular bill, then we have every right to express it. Somebody should unmute, I think, you know. So, on the one hand, the protesters call it anti-farmer. The government, however, maintains that they want farmers to sell their products directly to the big buyers, and they are trying to make it. Somebody is continuously talking in the background. I'm sorry. So the government maintains that these bills are farmer friendly and they are meant for the empowerment of the farmers. They want that, they maintain that the products must be directly sold to big buyers by the farmers without the help of the middlemen. So all these controversies are surrounding minimum support prices, effects on the middlemen, loss of state revenue, low bargaining power of the farmers. These are some of the fears. See, the protests that come is also due to the fears. So it is the responsibility of the government to ensure that these fears are quelled. If there are, certain aspects or certain points which needs more and more communication, I think it is the responsibility of the government to communicate to these protesters. With the intervention of Supreme Court, and I hope that with the government's positive intention of solving this protest and solving these problems by bringing about some essential amendments, if it is needed, must be done. I am sure that the two experts, Colonel Rupinder and Amman Bali, would throw light on all these aspects, and by the end of the day, we would be in a better position to understand what the actual situation is. And maybe you could also suggest at some point of time the solutions to this problem by Miranda House students. So if we come out with, after end of this session, I would be very happy if we can concretely come out with some suggestions. The webinars are not only meant for, engaging ourselves. If you are able to give it back to the society and if you are able to give back to the government some solid point, even if there are only 2 points, I think, we will be doing a great service to the society and to the nation. I have only a word of caution here that, any protest, rather I would say no protest should fall prey to sedition and fall prey to forces outside India who are inimical to India. This is our duty. This is our minimum duty as a citizen of this nation. Our effort should always be to keep nation's interest in the forefront. And obviously, farmers are all in all, our annadatas, but we should also find out why this protest is happening only from majorly one particular or a few states and not from all the states across. So, these are issues which needs to be dwelled upon. And I am sure that, Colonel Rupinder and Aman Baldi would be in a better position to explain these things to us. And with this, I present my wishes to all of you. And I am sure that this is going to be a very, very useful expositions that will come from these two eminent speakers. Over to you, Sonali, for this.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I would like to invite Sonali ma'am to impart a few words with the students in this regard.
Thank you, Preeti. I'm not really going to take too much time because we are already running, late. The other issue is that Aman Bali is not able to join us. So I would request Colonel Rupinder here to take over and I'll be trying to coordinate it with Aman Bali. Thank you, Colonel Rupinder here. Over to you.
Good evening, Jayashree ma'am and Sonali ma'am, and especially to all the students. And I believe that there's a large number of students which are registered just in a couple of days as they knew about the session. Just with a brief thing, which especially in reference to your statement, Jayashree ma'am, that I've been a veteran 21 and a half years of my youth, has been given for my country, and I'm one of the I believe to be a strongest nationalist. But the thing is, what we're going to discuss today is not against any government. It's not against, it is about to bringing out certain realities of things which students need to know. And like you mentioned, I am from an agriculture background, and I'm raised in the fields. And, then I did fulfill Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, what is our two backbones of the country. So I have done both an equal amount of time, and now having my interests in my country, I always feel that what is good for the country should be spoken. Not I don't belong to any party, because you all know that when we are in forces, we don't even vote most of the time. So there's no political alliance. So what we're going to bring out is, like you mentioned, the word which is most spoken and most heard everywhere is MSP. So, before we start on the farmers, what is these ordinances which has been passed, it's very important, for our students to know what exactly is the issue, why MSP is being spoken so much. Okay. So, they need to go back to, Swaminathan report, which was initiated in 2004, and Professor Swaminathan wrote 2200 long pages of the report. And what is this about? Many of these students must be in young and growing up toddlers, or maybe in schools, which when these things would have happened in 2004 and 2006. That time there were a lot of suicides happening. The farmers was committing suicide, and you belong to Kerala, and you know that how much suicide was happening in Maharashtra and Punjab and Andhra Pradesh, all these places. So the reason was very simple, that there was no capital which was enough for the farmers to sustain themselves, right? So, they had no option, but they had large loans to survive. But then when they're not able to, have those loans paid, they couldn't, they felt as failures to look after their families, and they committed suicide. Okay. So, the government had that time asked Professor Swaminathan to do a report, which was not only for one thing. The biggest reason was how we can look after these farmers, what is the issue, and how the reforms should take place. So the reforms are not spoken now. A lot of people think the reforms are just these are the only bills which spoke about reforms. So Swaminathan report, which is 2200 page, which was implemented 2006, it came out. It had a lot of things which was talking about the reforms and to enhance or increase the capital in the hand of a farmer. Now, what has happened is, if now from 2006, it had a lot of points for reforms, and it's a long report. It had points like soil health, and there are a lot of points. And I would like to bring out is that 2014, one of the biggest agenda for the present government, which they before voting, was that they said that Swaminathan report will be implemented. And we all know that. It is very public. It's something which we all know that. But in December 2015, in next 1 year, what they did was they submitted a written affidavit mentioning that they will not implement this report. So the resentment in certain areas, which, farmers which are educated, aware, the resentment started long back in 2015. It's not September this year. That's what we need to know. So this has been growing over a period of time. And then, I'm bringing the background so that people, students know why the resentment is not from these bills only. This is something like a, last nail in the coffin. Okay. Now, what has happened later on, we all know in 2015, NCR, for the pollution of Delhi, there was an act which was made. And we all hear it a lot in media that, the stubble, when the rice is cut, and the stubble is the one which is causing all this pollution in Delhi, and it has been highlighted a lot. Whereas if you go on the government sites and if you see the actual facts and figures, the stubble only causes and contributes 4% of the total Delhi pollution. It is just 4%. There's a lot many other factors like factories and the way, they discharge their, all these things happening. So the But what has happened is, it has been generally presented in a manner that it is the Punjab farmer or the stubble farm burning which is causing all this pollution. So there is a divide which has happened between people living in NCR and Delhi area and farmers of Punjab. So this is one factor. Now we also know that the Water Table Act came up, okay, and we also know in this year the fines have been started implementing on people who are burning this stubble. In 2015, Supreme Court had given order that 100 rupees per quintal of produce should be given to the farmer to dispose of this stubble so that they don't burn it. Now, this is 2015. Supreme Court of India has given this order. Till date, there is no funds which has been given by the central government to the Punjab government and further to go to the farmers. I must tell all the students, because they may not be from agriculture background, all of them, on an average, there is 20 to 25 quintals of produce which happens per acre. So that means if they are going to get 100 rupees per quintal, that makes around 2,000 to 2,500 rupees per acre to dispose of the stubble. Now, where can the stubble go? It can go to factories which produce cardboards. It can go in certain other box where the other stuff is made. But the issue is today, there is no catering for the transportation for that farmer who's going to get the stubble and take it to those factories. Secondly, no money has come to the farmer. That means not even promised money of 2,000 to 2,500 has been given to the farmers by the government. And lastly, today's rate of wages, the labor rate of the Punjab, if you have to remove a stubble, I am from the farming background and we have done all this, and that's why I'm saying it is average 4,500 to 55,000 per acre you need to pay to the labor to actually remove that stubble. So that means even if the farmer is getting 2,000 to 2,500, he still has to pay from his pocket another 2,000 or 2,500 to remove that stubble. Whereas, there has been no money which has been given, but contrary, there are enforcement agencies which are going there and giving fines to those farmers, which is again, there's a lot of backlash for that. Okay. Almost 6.35 crore of, fines has been given. Now farmers are not paying it because you can't snatch money from them. So now I want to tell this to the whole audience. What is the resentment? Now, when they don't pay, the law also permits two things. One, that land will get into red territory. Now, this is what we need to understand. When your land, if I'm a farmer and I'm not paying that fine, which is heavy for me, without extra income, my land goes into red territory. And when it goes to red territory, I will not get any farm loans. I am not going to get any subsidies. So that means now I am being penalized and again financially, for all the subsidy or the loans which I could get. And to top it, these were the bills which came. So now we have to understand, that why all this has been happening since 2006. I will like to bring out one more aspect here for the students to understand. MSP has been there in 12 states where there was a good system of mandi system ever. So when we talk like, Dr. Jayashri said, why in particular states this is happening? Because MSP was there in Punjab, it was there in Haryana, it was there on some commodities in UP. 2006 onward, it was never there in Bihar. 2006 onwards, there have been a lot of other states where the MSP never existed. Now, we all know, and I'm sure Miranda House has students all over from the country. Why do you think a Bihar farmer has to come to the fields of Punjab or Haryana to earn his living? That means if he was getting good amount of money, if he had the minimum support price, MSP, he would have got the same price for his paddy what Punjab farmer is getting. Why Punjab farmer is better off than a Bihar farmer or an Andhra Pradesh farmer or a Karnataka farmer is, the reason is that he has been getting at least the minimum price for his paddy and he has not been exploited below that price. Whereas if you see the average price for paddy in Bihar is almost 600 to 800 rupees less than what we get in Punjab. So talking about MSP, that's the importance. So it was not in all states. That is why wherever this MSP and established mandi system was, those are the states which are getting affected the most by this bill. And we'll get on to this, how these reforms are actually, have certain issues and what is the resentment. Now, I'd like to clear one aspect. MSP, what today farmers are getting is not the MSP which they were supposed to get. I will like to draw attention of all the students to the MSP word and understand it very carefully. The way it was explained in 2006 Swaminathan report. The MSP which today the farmers are getting, and because why the whole intention was to start Swaminathan report, or its commission was established, was to improve the condition of the farmers so that they don't commit suicides and they can have a better life. So the MSP which today the farmers are getting, that MSP only includes whatever the cost the farmer is putting to produce that yield from this. That means if they're spending money on urea, if they're spending money on certain pesticides, if they're spending money on watering, those costs plus the government decides based on demand and supply. So they come up with a figure which is minimum support price, that is MSP. So it ensures that nobody buys from the farmer where MSP is applicable in those states below that price. So that means there is some guarantee that the farmer will get minimum that much amount. But what is happening is, we all understand, we all know how agriculture is a business. There is no business which only adds on to the cost. Everything which you buy, from a toothpaste to a toothbrush, there's always the cost of production. There's always cost of labor. There's always cost of packing. There's always cost of the man hours which are used. And over and above, a manufacturer also has a profit percentage. And that becomes, the selling price which you all pay for every commodity in the country. Okay. So you never pay only the cost. You are not even told. You just get one price which you have to pay, and you are forced to pay. You have no choice. You can't tell the shopkeeper that I need to pay only $5 rupees for this toothpaste because that's the only cost. But there is a labor, there is a time, there is everything included in that, and top of that there is a profit. Now, Swaminathan report, what farmers are asking for the MSP, what government should have given is, that report includes the MSP, and how that MSP is supposed to be calculated is, including all this cost which a farmer pays from his pocket, plus the amount of hours his family spend in the fields based on the hourly rate, because that's a labor's rate which the farmer is getting, and the total of that, and minimum 50% above that cost is the MSP which was recommended in 2006. So let's not get confused, because when we all think, what is the issue with these farmers? Government is telling them we'll give you we will continue with MSP. And why the farmers are saying, we don't want this MSP. So, and the media at same time is conveying as if the farmers who are agitating are rigid, they are stubborn, because what media is not educating is, what MSP are they talking about? Both are same words. MSP which was being given, which was not supposed to be given, and the MSP which was agreed in 2006. And I will also like to bring one stat that had the MSP been given to the farmer in 2006, in 10 years' time, 11,000 plus crore rupees would have gone to the farmer's pocket all over country. And you know how much it would have made the difference? As of today, just 7% of the total amount is actually the farmer's loan on the whole country. That means not only there would have been no farmer's loan, not only that no farmer would have been living below the poverty line, not only that the farmers would have not been only marginal farmers, okay, where they are just living hand to mouth and they are subject to so many calamities. This is the only business in the country, we have to understand, where after putting everything, there's no guarantee that they will even get anything back, because it is absolutely in the open. They're facing calamities. They're facing every possible chance of not getting their money back unless they actually sell it. And this is what is the whole concern. And let me now come to the farm bill. These farm bill, the intention on the surface is to do the reforms. And what are these reforms? I'll highlight on these bills, and I will also like to mention and like to address you that let's understand the reality of our country, that's India. We all know, and I'm sure you all know, can you ever fight with somebody who's richer than you in the court? We all know that if you don't have money, you don't go to the court. Courts don't do anything for you free. So let's know this reality. You also know that if you are not influential, how many of you or your parents can just walk up to an SDM's office, and do you think SDM is going to talk to you? That's a reality. We all know, and that we all know what is the reality of a country. So we need to know these facts before even we think about farmers' bill. Okay. How many of you or your parents do you think have walked up to a collector's office in Delhi or anywhere in the country and the collector has listened to you? You can keep standing outside. You can have days out. Collector will not have time for you. Yes. If there's a businessman, if there's a person who is powerful, the collector will walk out of his office and come and greet him and meet him and listen to him. So these are the realities of our country, which we should not forget. We also need to forget that how many of you or your families who are from, farming background, do you think you are legally qualified to read a contract? Let's understand this. How many of you can actually read a contract? I'm sure you will not be able to read a contract because there are so many legal terminologies. Okay. Hence, these are the certain realities which I want that all of you should be knowing, that you in the country cannot fight anybody who has more money than you, because you need to pay to the lawyers, and the lawyer's fees is very high. If I have more money, I can pay to the best of the Supreme Court lawyer and fight my case. And if I don't have money, I cannot fight a legal battle. And we already brought out that what we are talking about, 86% of the farmers in India have less than 5 hectares. That means they are defined as small or marginal farmers. So we are talking about the 86%, those farmers who are marginal, who are small, who have less than 5 hectares. That means they have no capital to spend on legal battles. They are not that priority for a SDM or a collector to listen. They cannot read contracts, which are all terms and conditions and legal aspects, a lot of legal terminologies, because they are not lawyers. They need to pay to a lawyer to even read a contract. Now, this with the background, let's talk about what are these farm bills. Okay, the first bill is, Farmers Produce, Trade and Commerce for the Promotion and Facilitation Bill 2020. What does this basically tells? What it tells is that now farmers can get into written agreements with whom? With anyone, including a company. They want to sell their produce for whatever set period of time is. That means definitely this particular bill gives me as a farmer an option to sign a contract with, be it Birla, be it Tata, be it Adani, be it Ambani, be it anybody who can be willing to buy my produce. It's very good whereas theory is concerned. Yes, definitely. I can have a contract. Definitely there is somebody, who can give me money. But now we will continue what all provisions it is giving. This particular bill is giving you provision that you have a freedom to sell. You don't have to go to only a mandi which is existing as of now. Okay. But you have an option to sell to anybody. The other provision which this bill is giving you is that you don't have to limit your produce only to Punjab or Haryana or UP or MP. If I am a farmer from Punjab, I can go and sell my produce in Kerala. Very good option. Okay. At the same time, it also helps me that I can be in touch with big houses, from where I can get advice, I can get free marketing. I don't need to go to the mandis. I can market my own produce. Now we stop it here. These are the major provisions. With the background I gave you, I want to ask you, I don't want to give any opinions. How many of you do you think, when we are talking about 86% of these marginal farmers, have firstly the ability to read those contracts which will be signed with big houses? Secondly, how many of these marginal farmers do you think have the ability to take a small produce which they are going to get out of those less than 5 hectares or 2 acres or 4 acres all the way to Kerala? Who's going to pay for his transportation? We already know that the farmers are committing suicide for what? Because they don't have capital. We all know that many of them are below the poverty line. They are being subsidized, they're getting loans, they're just running from hand to mouth. And now we are giving them provision. It is like I'm giving you a provision that all of you are permitted to come and study in Canada. Okay. But your question will be, what is the cost? Can I pay 50,000 Canadian dollars? Can I afford to live over there? There are so many. Yes, I have given you a provision. Now I've given you a provision. Anybody from Miranda House is free to come to Canada. There will be no visa. Right? This is a great provision. But who's going to pay $40,000 for your university fees? Who's going to give you place to live? Who's going to give you food to eat? Who's going to give you jobs? Who's guaranteeing you, yes, you will be able to earn here? And am I guaranteeing you that you will get a job after you spend $40,000? Will you be treated equal with a person who's a Canadian? I'm not guaranteeing you anything. What I'm guaranteeing you is, yes, there is no visa for Miranda House. Any of you can come and study in Canada. And now, if you imagine 86% of you are just running hand to mouth, you are not even able to pay your Miranda House fees. And you're begging, borrowing, and you're taking loans from your banks to pay your Miranda House fees or your hostel fees. Does that provision make any sense to you? This is the fight. The fight is not on reforms. The fight is, yes, on paper, these reforms are great. There is no doubt about that. Yes, I don't have to be limited to Punjab. I can pick up my farm and hire a goods train, pay for the goods train, and take it to Kerala, and then look for a buyer, and then I can sell on my own price. Yes, very good provision. But I'm sure you all are educated. You work in one of the topmost institute in the country, and you can use your own brain to understand what is the issue, why people are fighting, and why they are mentioning that, yes, these are reforms. There's no doubt it's a reform. But who's taking advantage of this reform? What will happen when there will be no minimum support price. And yes, I have a produce. Earlier, I had a place to go and I knew I'm going to get at least 1800 rupees. Now I don't even have a place. Now I'm looking for somebody to contract me, or there will be a private buyer who can come, who has got money. Now we all understand. How many days do you think if you produce a tomato can actually stay outside? How many of you think if I'm producing, onion is going to stay outside? How many of you think if I'm going to produce potatoes is going to stay outside? And when I have no place, I'm looking for it's a summer temperature. Okay, my produce needs to be, taken, bought by somebody within a stipulated time because it's going to otherwise perish. Now I am a private buyer. I will wait for 10 days. I will make sure that there is nobody. We all know how monopoly happens. We all know how monopoly happens even in film industry. A commoner cannot become a superstar. It's that simple. It's the same thing, right? And I don't go for 10 days. And when you know that now your produce is almost going to be rotten, I can tell you, okay, this is a choice. You need 500 rupees. I give you 500. Give me your produce. What option will be with that marginal farmer not to sell it? Because there is nothing which is minimum for him. So his minimum starts with 0 to anything. And we all know that what has happened with apples. Okay, in Himachal, big corporate houses paid for 2 years a higher price than the normal trader. The normal traders got almost vanished. And now when there is no competition, okay, I can buy for anything. You all are using Geo, and you all know that okay, now the competition has finished. There's no Airtel, there's no Vodafone, everything is gone. And now when everybody else is gone, now I can charge you anything after a year or two, once there is no competition. So this is what is a farmer scared of. So it is on paper, it definitely says it will increase competition because there will be more buyers, there will be more bigger people. But we all know that, okay, it is the fight between a big corporate versus a marginal farmer. A farmer who's already living hand to mouth, who has no money to fight legal battles. Plus, the states like Punjab or Haryana, they're flourishing, or Western UP is flourishing. Let me tell you, there are 650 mandis which are regulated by APMC, and out of 650 mandis in UP, almost 80% of them are in Western UP only. And we all know, those who belong to that, why Western UP is far more, flourished than Eastern UP. The reason is very simple. Because the farmer there could go and take his produce and his conditions were better. He had more options. And let me tell you, it is available open sources that after this bill has been regulated and passed and implemented in UP, how many thousands of trucks wanted to come to Punjab to sell because they were not getting the price in UP. What does this tell you? This is available in open sources. This is not my opinion. And none of the words which I'm using is an opinion. It is all evidential and authentic. Okay. How many people have tried to do that? That tells that whether these reforms are going to do good or whether this has already started failing. In MP, this is a report in the newspaper, Indian newspapers, that cotton has not been even bought by the government where they were supposed to buy. And what happened to the cotton growers in MP is the condition which we all need to know. Okay, so this is what is happening. And you must understand, MSP is going to go beyond only a farmer. That is why, if you see why it says Kisan Majdoor Ekta, the reason is, all of you are from Bihar. A laborer gets 200 rupees a day in Bihar. He gets 1,000 rupees a day in Delhi or in Punjab. Why will not a laborer from Bihar come all the way? He has to leave his family because there is no minimum support wage for them. So that is why this morcha, this protest is not only farmers, this is also combined with laborers. And many times it has come in media that these guys are not only farmers. There are people who don't have farming. Yes, there are a lot of people who understands that how it is going to affect if the produce goes up, if there is a monopoly, all of you going to pay the higher price, because then it's up to the person who's bought it how much they want to sell, because now it's being controlled. We'll go over other things, that this bill which we just said, yes, it is a very good reform. You can go anywhere, you don't need to go into the mandi, but I just gave you the facts. Okay, what is the issue? Why the farmer is fighting? Because is government going to give him the transport to take it to Kerala? Is government going to guarantee that his produce will be sold within next 2 days of his production? There is no period. So his produce can be bought after a month. His produce can be bought. He can keep struggling to look for that private buyer, okay, for days together. Where is he going to keep his feed? We all know that if it's a paddy or anything, it's going to be in open. He doesn't have logistics. He doesn't have warehouses. He doesn't have shelters to put his production. Okay. Now he's already keeping his fingers crossed that there should be no rain. His crop should not get damaged. Do you think the farmer is going to keep produce in his house? Most of these farmers are living in a room or a 2-room of a house. They don't have a place even to live. So these are the ground realities why there is a loophole. There is, what we always use a word, in between the lines. So in between the lines, there is a lot of gap. And that is what the farmers are apprehensive about. Let's go to the next bill. It says, Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement of Price Assurance and Farm Service Bills. What does this tell you? That retail or wholesale traders can buy the produce through auctions. It also tells you that they will be people who can show a PAN card and they can become private traders. Now, what does basically it means is that farmers can get into contracts. Okay, right? And those contracts, who's going to do that? I am in contract with a corporation. So the corporation is going to tell me, this is the standard of the crop I need. This is the pesticide which has to be used. This is the technology which needs to be used. Now, there are so many conditions which a farmer has to fulfill to make sure that whatever has been contracted, he gets paid for. Now, we all understand this. Now, if the farmer is going to get money and he's going to do all those conditions, which has a financial implication, and if the farmer is following all those conditions, and I as a contract person or the second party then feels in the end that no, I don't agree that this condition has been met, that means the farmer has violated that contract. Okay, if there is any issue, there is any dispute, then the corporate house is not bound to pay the farmer. He's not bound to pick up his produce. But yes, this bill has a provision. What is that provision? It has a provision by which a farmer can go and they can put up their case to the SDM. Now, as a farmer, I am in contract with somebody and they have given me conditions. And when it's the time to buy, I say, I check these things, that the produce is not as per the standard. Now it's a dispute. We already brought out. Now there is a dispute. Firstly, now the dispute has been stipulated in this reform. And what is that stipulation? Okay, let me give you those stipulations which has come up, okay, on these things. Now, there is a third party which will be used to audit the quality. And let's remember the ground reality. I am a millionaire. I am going to use a third party. The third party is not going to listen to a marginal farmer. It's very simple. Okay, it's the reality on ground. And now if the third party says this quality is not good, now what do I need to do? Now I can go to resolve my dispute. And what is that dispute which I can go and resolve? How it's done? It says there's a 90-day mechanism. That means the dispute has to be resolved in 90 days. How? 30 days is for the agreement to be drawn. Then there are 30 days with the SDM to decide, okay, who's right and who's wrong. And then there are another 30 days for the collector. I just brought your attention before we started. How many of you or your parents, okay, can walk up with a millionaire and go to an SDM and firstly draw a legal case to fight for that right of yours, to prove it, no, my produce is good. Yes, there is a stipulation. We all know who is SDM going to listen to. We all know that what happens in reality. We all know all the cases, whether it's Sushant Singh Rajput, power dictates. Okay, we all have been going through this. We all watch this happening. Right? Nirbhay case has taken years to prove that yes, these people are guilty. That's the law. That is how the system works. Okay, and if that type of a case can take 7 years, right, and still people can hope that they can get pardoned by the president of the country, you can very well imagine this is just about a produce. And it is about a marginal farmer who has 4 acres, 5 acres, and there can be so many farmers looking for this dispute. Do you think any SDM is free only to look after this dispute? Do you think the SDM has time to even look at that farmer's application? And to start with, who's going to make his petition? A lawyer. Is a person, there is a provision that yes, these are the government attorneys who will work free for the farmers and first come first basis. They will not take more than 24 hours. They will not take more than 48 hours. There's no such provisions. And now it goes to the collector. Okay, now 90 days have gone. That means all the perishable goods which I have produced. Now either I have a choice to let them get rotten and hope for the best that I'll get money, or I lose everything. Is in which way? Yes, there is a dispute resolution. There are a number of days stipulated. I can go into contracts with anybody. But the thing is, that is what the exploitation is being spoken about. A marginal farmer who's sitting there in that sub-zero temperature is fighting for his protection. All the farmers who are sitting there are requesting one thing, that please protect us from exploitation. And we are fearful, like Jayashri ma'am has said, there is a fear that in the garb of this reform, these big houses are going to exploit them. And we all know, and especially those students who are from, not that well families, every step you are exploited. Okay, everywhere. You go to a normal shopkeeper, if you are not rich, you don't buy much, they don't even give you respect. It's a reality on ground. Okay, it's that simple. How many people can dare to, in anywhere in the country, that if you're driving a Mercedes, to stop you to check your driver license? Yes, if you're on a moped, you can be stopped anytime. How many times you see the videos and you see the reality? So we have to learn the reality of life. We have to learn what is the reality on ground. Yes, on paper, these are the best reforms. There's no doubts about that. But we have to see the reality, and 86% of the farmers are below levels, who cannot read contracts, who cannot pay lawyers for their protection. They cannot go to even SDM's office. They cannot even go to a normal SHO's office. How many times आप सुनते हो कि ये गरीब आदमी की तो पुलिस वाले रिपोर्ट नहीं लिखते? हजारों केस रेप के होते हैं, हजारों केस और चीजों के होते हैं. How many times you hear this कि the police refuse to even write a report just because there is another MLA's son outside, or there is a person who's rich. So why we forget reality and we get carried away? What we are just told. Yes, these are reforms, and farmers themselves are mentioning they want reforms. Who doesn't want reforms? They want their life to be better, but they need protection. All they are requesting is that they want protection. Okay, and the biggest thing is, which is the issue? The issue is this. It is about, I want to do welfare for you, but you are crying, you don't want that welfare because you feel, this is not a welfare. So that means I have not got you involved in the welfare. If I have to give welfare, I need to involve that party who's going to be affected. And in none of these bills, there is farmers who are involved. There is not even single farmers union, farmers leaders, or anybody related to directly to farmers have been involved. That is their biggest reason. They're mentioning that you want to do reforms, we want reforms, but at least ask us what we want. I cannot have something good for you, right? And you just don't want it. If I am not looking for my welfare, why do you want to give me welfare? And that is where it is not about that. Slowly, there's a lot of other unions from other states which you keep hearing, whether it's Gujarat and Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and we also seeing that because today is a time of social media, that there the governments are not even letting them come to Delhi because they don't want it to become a national issue. Whereas I want to draw your attention to the Supreme Court statement. The Supreme Court has said before it becomes a national issue, it must be resolved. That means the Supreme Court of the country is anticipating that this is going to be a big national issue because it's one of the largest ever. It's bigger than non-corporation movement of India, which was one of the most successful thing. And this is what is the fear. This is millions of people, not only in the country, anywhere people who understand this exploitation in the world. There are different unions who understand this. Okay, and we all need to understand this. Yes, there are very good options given here. But the only thing which farmers are looking out of this is protection against exploitation. Right? Okay. We'll go on next one, which is about the last one is Essential Commodities Amendment Bill. And that is one which we need to understand very well because this is what is going to affect not the farmers. It is going to affect the consumers the most. You all are consumers. That is what I'm just going to do that. Earlier, which was an old bill in 1955, there were always essential commodities, but those were basically drugs, fertilizers, and what was not included in that, there was a protection that they sent cereals, pulses, potatoes, onions, all these things which are basically you need to survive every day. They were under those old bills, old list, that these cannot be hoarded. Nobody can store them. Nobody can hold them because otherwise there was a chance of somebody hoarding these essential items which you need to survive every day, and they can be given at any price. Hence, there was a protection. Now, this new bill has removed all your basic essential commodities like cereals, pulses, onions, potatoes, what you use every day. So that has been removed. Now, what does this mean? Yes, there is a provision that they can be stocked, they can be protected by the buyer. But what is going to happen? The controversy is we all can use our, intelligent minds. What will happen if potatoes are stored and they are not given out at the time when it's required? We all know what will happen if the cereals are controlled and can be hoarded. Yes, there is a provision that the hoarding cannot be done if there is 100, not more than 100% increase in perishable goods, or 50% increase in the rate price of non-perishable goods. Now that means, and the period which it is going to be taken as is going to be the last year. Okay. Now on ground, what it implies is that if today atta is costing you 20 rupees, I can control wheat till atta does not reach 40 rupees. So that means in 1 year there is a provision of hike of 20 rupees. So till another 20 rupees, unless the cost, if I keep the cost at 39 rupees per kg, which was today 20 rupees, I am still protected. I am not violating this law. And to top it all, it is not applicable if I am a bread manufacturer, if I am a biscuit manufacturer, because it says if you are the person who's manufacturing in the agri chain till the end, that means if I am buying wheat, I am now making biscuits out of that. If I am making bread out of that, then doesn't matter how much I hoard. So now you tell me that if firstly there is a provision that from 20 rupees kg I can go to 39 rupees kg, so there is no violation of this law. If it is because it's a perishable, it's a non-perishable, then after I can keep it at 39 for that 1 year. That means after a cycle of another 1 year, I can make it from 39 to another 100%, and still I am within this law. So this is what we need to understand. Yes, there is a provision that nobody can hoard we can store as much as wheat, as much as so that there is no field, there is no paddy or cereals or anything which is pulses which are getting rotten outside. But at the same time, what is going to happen to a consumer? What are you getting for 20 rupees kg today? You can be charged in a year 39 rupees a kg, and I can hoard as much wheat as I wish. I am not still violating this new provision. So this is one of the biggest reasons why people are basically talking about, and there are a lot of small businesses, retails.
Please. Sir, एक minute. Just a minute. Sonali madam, please. एक minute, sir. Just a minute.
Okay, I'm holding on, no problem.
Yeah, Colonel, here we have just got Aman Bali on. He's just been able to join. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
So what I'll do is we'll quickly go on to Aman Bali before he gets locked down again.
Okay, no
then
issues.
We'll come back to you, sir.
Yeah,
Okay?
I am almost done though. First portion.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Aman, are you here? Can we have you on, Aman? Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aman.
Sorry guys, I've been a little late.
Yeah, okay. All right. Aman, you can start, please. We'll just come back before you get logged out again. I realize that there is a network issue. You can please start. Aman is going to tell us about problems of Indian agriculture generally. Thank you, Aman. Over to you.
Thank you guys for checking me. So, Sonali madam, may I interrupt? Sonali madam, please unmute yourself, please. Madam, basically we are facing a technical glitch at this time, so it's like we have to end up this session.
Okay, is there an issue there? Is there a
it's a technical issue, and I can't continue it further. Otherwise, everything will crash on our server, and some problem, big problem.
Okay,
madam.
okay, so
I can't continue.
Okay, I'll just take 5 minutes to Aman. In any case, we are not able to hear you. I think there is a technical issue on your end also. So I will just take this opportunity, just 2 minutes, to thank everybody who has joined this session. I think we are crashing out. We might just want to wind up this session. Thank you so much, Colonel Head. Thank you so much, Aman, for joining us here, for trying to join us here. And in case there is we are able to reschedule this session, we will reschedule this once again for the next week, or maybe after college opens, after the winter break. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. Have a very nice winter break. We will be stopping here. Thank you.